Well, good evening, fellow listeners, and welcome to a special Halloween episode of Pony 411. Tonight, for your scary and frightening enjoyment, we have Four String.
I'm too spooky for you and for my shirt.
Indeed you are. And the scariest, perhaps most terrifying individual of them all to come out of the pony fandom in many years, Nemesis.
Hi.
Nemesis.
And dozens of listeners just wet their pants at that hello.
Good.
So yeah, we have a pretty cool show for you tonight.
It's our 10th episode.
We finally hit double digits.
We made it before getting canceled.
Indeed. By the way, I am your host, Artfan. I forgot to introduce myself. For those.
Oh, that's who that guy. I thought you were Funky.
Poor Funky.
You fooled me.
May he rest in peace. No, yes, pieces.
Yeah, because it's almost Halloween.
Indeed it is. But no, in all seriousness, Funky's fine. He's just got some stuff going on that he has to take care of, so unfortunately he will not be joining us this evening. He's probably touring around the British pubs with Fusion, who's also not here, once again.
Because he's British.
Because he's never been here in the first 10 episodes. So.
You people are just never going to get to see him. We might as well just let you know.
It's going to be a recurring joke. Hey,
yeah.
Is Fusion here? Nope. Oh, okay.
Well, Fusion doesn't actually exist, and I mean, I ruined the surprise. Damn it.
No! You fool!
You've doomed us all.
Everything I touch dies. But anyway. So, yes, we are going to start this one off the same way we usually do, and that is with our quick hits.
The quick hits this weekend are too spooky.
Yes, they are.
Too spooky for a song, even?
Too spooky for a song, for this podcast.
They are too spooky. They are the quick hits, and they are quick, and they hit. It's too spooky.
You got to hit them quick.
10 out of 10 would listen again.
It's going to be on our first charity album. Released sometime.
Oh, 411, doing the quick hits.
No, wrong.
You gotta admit, that was pretty good. That was pretty good
Everything
for having
is
done
wrong.
it.
What have we done?
For having done that on the fly, that wasn't bad. You gotta give me some credit.
But it's not
No, I don't.
Halloween, it's Thanksgiving.
What?
Wrong!
That's the Thanksgiving song, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the Kim Possible Fight for 5 theme song. Don't you know anything?
No, stop. No, stop. What are you doing?
We can't let that bleed in here. No.
Okay.
Just let it die a painless death. And yes.
Yes. It has been killed.
Anyway, quick hits.
Yes, but I'll tell you what about these quick hits. So starting things off, a Learnist page created by Ray Kimball has been constructed to assist with his survey of the Brony fandom for a new media course at Pepperdine. The page includes in-depth analysis of the Brony subculture, up to 33 pages at recording time. If you're interested in reading about Bronies or know someone who is from a more psychological basis, follow the link in the description, and we will, of course, be posting that with this podcast. Next...
Like what you just said.
Well, yes. I believe in redundancy. I try to live by that.
I believe in redundancy. That is what I believe.
Moving right along. Philly Games, with a Z, creator of the game Welcome to Ponyville, is looking for background and vector artists to help create the next few chapters of its game. Interested applicants should send an email to phillygames@gmail.com and title the email Artist Audition, and we'll post that email in the description as well. Originally, Adweek posted its hot list for 2012 polls, and while FIM was not listed as a candidate in any category, there was the other option, which allows write-ins. Now, however, Adweek got an overwhelming response to their hot list 2012 polls for My Little Pony, and have decided to have a best pony poll to appease us. And we do like when they appease us and give in to our demands. Click the link in the description if you want to vote for the best pony for the millionth time, or the zillionth
Twilight
time.
Sparkle.
Twilight Sparkle is currently winning as of recording time.
That's funny. That's not how you say Fluttershy.
Fluttershy is like
wasn't trying to
last
say
place
Fluttershy.
of the main 6. Come on, dude.
Okay, Rainbow Dash.
She was like, what, 4th? 3rd?
I'll
Something
take
like
it.
that.
Sold. Now
Yeah,
then. Now then. If you're interested in yet another mainstream news article on the subject of Bronydom, Canada's Huffington Post has thrown its hat into the ring with an overall unbiased portrayal of the community. Check the link in the description to read. Shout Factory's Brian Ward has released some details of the FIM Season 1 DVD. According to Ward, the DVD features 6 different audio commentaries that include multiple members of the production staff, including Jason Thiessen, James Wooten, Andre Libman, Daniel Ingram, Tabitha St. Germain, and many more. The DVD will also include 2 sing-alongs of the theme song and At the Gala. Moving right along, are you a fan of Grimdark? How about RPing? If you answered yes to both of these questions, a new Pony RP forum has popped up. Called Griffin Kingdoms, the RP will follow the story of the rebellion of ponykind against the Griffins who have taken over Equestria. Oh no! Check the link to the forum in the description to get involved.
I like you're like, oh no, and then you laughed and you're the only person that laughed.
Yes, indeed.
Oh no! Clever
Anywho.
art fan.
Anywho, issue 3 of the FIM comic is now available for pre-order. As of the recording of this episode, the pre-order was being tendered at a 35% discount. Head over to Midtown Comics website for more information. And moving on here, several new pieces of merchandise have been released, including a bubble bath set at Walmart, hinged wallets at Hot Topic, and a vertical messenger bag and a Rainbow Dash robe. So you can, of course, wear Rainbow Dash on you. There you go.
The bubble bath set, I'm buying it, just saying.
Of course you are. Wouldn't expect anything less.
Of course I am.
Now then, hot on the hooves of the Rainbow Dash and Derpy vinyl figures, Funko has announced that 2 more vinyl figures are on the way. No word on what ponies they will be, but look for more information in the future. And finally, even before the 3rd season of FIM has aired, we already have a title, synopsis, and air date of episode 3. Spoilers!
Oh god, don't listen. Unless you
Entitled...
want to.
Yeah, in case you want to. If not, just skip for the next, 2 seconds. So, spoilers. The episode is entitled Too Many Pinkie Pies, and the episode's synopsis reads, overwhelmed with having to choose just one friend to spend time with, Pinkie Pie uses a magic mirror to clone herself. The episode will air on November 17th.
Sounds fantastic, by the way. Like
Sounds
that's
terrifying.
that's just going to be a great episode. Oh my god.
Anything with cloning usually gets my attention, so
Well,
I'll watch
absolutely.
it.
It just
But
seemed
yeah.
like that. It just seemed like that kind of episode that like was always going to happen, and you just kind of had to expect it, and then now it finally has. And of course, they did it with probably the best character they probably could do for that kind of thing. So it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. But yes, folks, that was our quick hits for this week's episode. Now, we're going to move on to our next usual segment, which is our discussion segment. And this week, the big discussion is going to be about PonyCons. And guess what? They keep multiplying. Yes, indeed.
Like rabbits?
Kinda. I mean,
Parasprites?
sure. Yeah. What these guys said.
Bad fanfics?
Yeah, well, definitely like that. Those seem to multiply a lot. Now, seems like it isn't much of a stretch to make it these days. So, with many all across the world, is this a good thing for the community, or could we see an actual con burnout at some point? Do certain cons have a certain flavor to them to keep them interesting? And, what happens when all these cons want voice actors, but Hasbro only has so many to give? Will even the show staff quit coming to as many? What do you guys think about some of these questions? We'll start with Four String.
Oh, I'm honored. I'm honored to be on this podcast talking to you, Art Fan. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Well, we're honored to have you. Such a major presence in the Brony community. Thank you for joining us tonight.
That's me. You know me and my 116 followers on Twitter. I'm just,
More than I
Anyway,
have. I feel bad.
PonyCons, yeah, they do keep multiplying. I originally wanted to talk about this because I remember, just hearing about it. This was at Candlelight Gardens about a month ago now. I remember getting at least like 2 or 3 different pamphlets for new cons that were starting next year. That was like that were, again, totally new. Had not had a con last year. This is 2013 was their debut season. I'm like, oh wow, more cool, okay. And then just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I heard about this con called Cutie Mark Con. And this con is happening in Cincinnati, Ohio. At I believe, either the end of May or end of June, one of the two. I believe it's the end of May. Point is, that makes 3 different pony cons in Ohio now for 2013. 2 of which are happening within 2 weeks of each other.
Wow.
That being Cutie Mark Con and then TrotCon happening from June 14th through 16th. So it got me thinking, okay, first of all, why are there so many cons? Second of all, do we need this many cons? And third of all, could this be could this have a negative impact? And while I don't think it's going to have a negative impact per se as a whole, I think we definitely need to start reeling this in a little bit. There are certain places that don't have cons yet that could use them. Maybe, perhaps. I'm thinking, maybe the northern part of the United States, for instance, but more like in the central part of the country. So, that excludes Everfree, that excludes BronyCon, and then, the stuff in Ohio and stuff like that, and Midwestria, I guess, as well. That's one area. I can't really think of any major big Florida cons also. That's another place. There's multiple places like this, and like some of the other spots are getting filled. Like these cons I was talking about earlier that I first started hearing about. One I know is in Nashville, Tennessee. Another is in Washington, D.C. And there's one more that I can't think of, but I believe it's in the central part of the United States somewhere. But, we're getting all these new cons, and that's cool, that's awesome, but I'm starting to get the feeling that there might be maybe too many. And that kind of worries me, mainly in the sense that not just people who come to the cons as guests, and we're talking in this case, production staff, voice actors, etc., not just talking them, but talking, fans in general. There's only going to be so many cons that, say, for instance, Equestria Daily can make. Because, they try to make to a lot of these cons, but, what if well, not even what if, I'm sure they can't make it to all of them. And that's something that I kind of worry about. Is there going to be sort of a con burnout, not just from the staff, but from the fandom in general? Is there a possibility that after a while here, people are going to be thinking, why are there so many cons? And, the people at the beginning of the year that are happening, like say, for instance, the Vegas con that's happening, I think in, is it February, I believe? That's actually a pretty prime position at this point. And at the beginning of the summer, yes, sure, too. But let's think more like the end of the summer. How many people are going to be still wanting to go to cons, and how many people are going to be like kind of tired of it? And it's definitely something that worries me. And I've talked a little bit. I have some more things I could say, but I'll relinquish it to Nemesis really quick if he has anything else to add to this.
I have a little bit, I guess. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it does feel like you're telling me. There's some of these I haven't even heard of, but you're just telling me all these new conventions are just popping out of the woodwork. It's like, where are they all coming from? And why do they think it's a good idea to put them so close to other conventions? Exactly. The thing is, especially, not only geographically, but or I guess by time, it's like within weeks of each other. They're really close, like within 3 cons within the same state. That's just overkill. And I understand, like, having a convention in Northwest like Everfree, and then you have one on the East Coast, Northeast, which is BronyCon. You got Equestria LA down in California, and then like TrotCon and Candlelight Gardens are both in Ohio. This kind of makes sense. You have a little bit of spread out, and then you have there's the Brony Can, the Canadian convention.
Yes, correct.
I'm not sure what part of Canada it's in. Do you know?
I don't know where it's at. I think it's.
Right.
I want to say it's on this side of the North America though, like more like the east side. I'll look it up here in a sec.
But yeah, it kind of makes sense, have some spread out here and there so people could go. And of course, you also got Buck in the UK. They're spread out so people don't have to go extreme distances to attend one if they want to. But if you start like filling it up, so it's like there's just constant, it's like 30, and not only that, it costs money to go to these. That's going to hit people hard in the wallet because not only do you have to pay to get in, you have to pay to travel. You have to pay for a hotel, and then if you want stuff from the convention, you often have to pay more on them. We're talking about like hundreds of dollars easily per convention. So if you have a bunch close together, you're kind of forcing people to choose. Okay, which convention am I going to go to? And especially since we already got some established ones, if you're close to a already big convention, you just kind of screwed yourself over. Because you're going to be kind of overlooked in favor of the bigger one, who probably already has, a bit of weight to throw on. They can easily get the guests and stuff who might not be around for that other convention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I want to clarify. Brony Can is actually in British Columbia, so it's actually
so it's West Coast.
So it's actually Western.
For
me,
and
go ahead.
Sorry. For me, it's just like everything in moderation. You know what I mean? When you get to the point where you're having cons that essentially facilitate the same thing within 2 weeks of each other, I mean, you're kind of... It's almost like they're going to like cancel each other out somehow. It's like you don't need to have that many cons. It kind of ruins the specialness of getting people from the fandom together when they're so frequent. You know what I mean? It's just like... Well, a good example I like to use, and this is going to be a very strange comparison, is like WWE has so many pay-per-views now. But like back in the day when it was like at its peak, pay-per-views were more special because, they would only come like once every like 3 months or something like that. And I can sort of make the comparison to cons. It's just like when cons are fewer and far between, it makes those meetups and those experiences the fans have a lot more like impactful and meaningful. And it's like when you start throwing cons, especially cons in the same place, like 2 weeks after each other, it's just like, no, you're kind of sucking the specialness out of it, and that just makes it start to get stale. So, so in that regard, yeah, I mean, if that type of trend continues, I could very well see the Brony con scene burning out. Maybe not permanently, but at least for a little while, things start to slow down.
Mm-hmm. I think something to keep in mind, or I don't really know this for sure. I don't really know the intentions of the people who are starting a lot of these cons. I can't speak to that, but a lot of times what I kind of feel like is that people are doing some of these cons just because they don't want to go other places. So they're like, well, I'm going to start my own con here and I'll get people to come to me. One of the things that I think one of the major examples I can think of in that is this Cutie Mark con that's happening in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's like there are 2 other cons happening in Ohio. Is this really necessary? And I would think kind of the same way if, say, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania decide to do one, or Indianapolis, Indiana, other places kind of in the area, Detroit maybe, for instance. Like, why, keep throwing up these new cons in these areas where there already are cons if, you already got, again, these other cons? Why not go to those cons? Why keep throwing these out in the same place? Now, I can understand when it's something like, to my knowledge, Nashville does not have, at least the Sweet Apple Acres Con, I believe is the name of it, or it's in the Nashville area. I can't think of any place that has anything in the area. I believe there's a con in Atlanta now too, and I think it's the closest that's the closest I can think of. When it's like cons like this that are like, there's nothing in the area, that makes a little more sense, although I still kind of worry about, maybe there's too many. But when it's a con that like pops up very close to plenty of others, it's like, why is this necessary? Is this necessary? And to me, I don't think it is. I don't think we need a whole lot of cons here. There are a lot of
within driving distance of each other.
Yeah, there are a lot of anime cons out there. So I will relent that, there are a lot of anime cons. So why can't there be a lot of ponycons? Well, anime is obviously a lot more wide, it encompasses a lot more things. Ponycons, mainly, and I say mainly because, I may say mainly because a place like Candlelight Gardens had some non-pony stuff, but mainly it's like one show. Again, yeah, right, you're right.
And that's what I was going to say too. It's just like, yeah, it's one thing versus hundreds, if not thousands, of different things with anime or with sci-fi or with everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, and just again, the thing I worry about the most, and this is above the the fandom getting burnt out. The main thing I worry about is the staff. I don't want it to get to a point where all these cons are happening and all these cons at the beginning of the year start pressuring the staff or Hasbro or whoever for voice actors. And yes, because let's face the facts, everyone wants show staff. There's barely any con out there, if any, that's just like content with being like, oh, we'll just we'll focus on the community or whatever. Generally speaking, everyone wants cons or show staff, and I get that because that's a big thing for a lot of people who want to go to the cons. They're like, well, I want to meet Tara Strong or whoever, So that's a big thing for a lot of people. So I understand why, I understand the allure of that. But, at the same time, again, they can't show up to every single one. And the worry I have is like, you have all these cons that are at the beginning of the year. And so they start earlier in the year as a result to try to get their guests squared away. Let's say we come to July, August, September, whatever, and those cons are happening then. Are like, okay, let's get our people. And Hasbro's like, we've already given you guys, this. Why are you asking us for more? We can't keep throwing these out. And maybe it's okay. Maybe like Hasbro's are going to just be like, okay, have them. And like, as long as the voice actors and show staff are okay with it, like they'll go, who cares? I mean, everybody's pretty much going for free anyway, so it's not really much of an expense on their part. But I just worry that, we'll be starting to see to a point where like maybe even Hasbro starts asking, why do you want them? Why do you need them? What are you going to do with them? And like, what are you going to do with them that you can't just go to like the same con that's like up the road and like do there, That's one of my main worries or that's my biggest worry is about the show staff. What if they get burnt out here? Or what if Hasbro even gets burnt out? We don't want to keep bombarding people with like, oh, hey, come to our con, come interview, what, this, that. That's something I've also kind of worried about with like things like podcasts, for instance. This is something interesting to be talking about because we're a podcast that, 10 episodes in, we just started about 2 months ago. But like, it's something I was kind of worried about. It's like, so many people out there like throwing around like, oh, I want to interview this, that. And it gets worrisome because it's like, people are going to get burned out from that. Interview wise, like that's going to happen. If like Tara Strong keeps getting asked every week, can you come on our show? Or to a lesser extent, let's talk about like, we'll say, I don't know, someone big, Dusty Cat, someone big in the fandom keeps getting asked every week, hey, can you come on my show, whatever. People are going to get burnt out. And I kind of see the same thing with cons in terms of, too many people wanting show staff or wanting people like to come to their cons and people just being like, but I was already at here, I was already up the road, whatever, this or that. I could see that having a very adverse effect on cons in general. And that's why I think, like a year ago, say, or even just a couple months ago, I think this year is like the golden age for cons. I really do. And I think that after this, it's not going to be as great. And I think it's because there's too many. And from here, it's still going to be fun. I'm still going to go. It's still going to be all right. But they were a lot more few and far between. Now it's just like everybody wants to do it. Everybody thinks they can pull a con off. Can they? Maybe. I don't know. But point is, it's getting a little crowded. And you just kind of keep asking the question, why should you exist? In a lot of cases, again, some of them, it makes sense to. But some of them, it's like, yeah, couldn't you just go over here? You know what I mean?
Truthfully, I would personally think it would be very beneficial to phase the big Brony cons and gatherings and stuff like that into other more expansive cons. I mean, granted, you see Brony and Pony stuff at anime cons and stuff like that, but it's just like, why do you need so many cons devoted to one thing? Like we were saying, just phase it into other big cons. It's like, if you want to have a con and have this major get together and plan everything and get all these major people, don't you think that certain people would be more inclined to show up if there's at least more going on? You know what I mean? Just get together with another local con that might not be a Brony or a Pony thing and work together to make something cool. You know what I mean? You don't have to make a whole separate new Pony thing.
That's a very good point. That's something I haven't really thought about. You know, doing that where like maybe a Pony con or people who want to do Pony con kind of latch onto like an anime con and make it so that the programming at said con is enough that there is plenty of Pony stuff to do. I know there was a furry con in Columbus, I believe the same weekend as Candlelight Gardens, that had quite a bit of Pony related content. In fact, you know, Celestia Radio was there broadcasting. There was a couple Pony panels. You know, I could see it almost being something like that, you know, like where there's like this giant faction of a anime con, and that would certainly do wonders for a lot of these startup cons in the sense of like money. You know, some of these cons may have like a great financial backer and they're fine, but some of them may be like kind of hurting, like, and it's like, well, kind of maybe leech may not be the best term here, maybe it is, I don't know, but you know, kind of leeching off like another anime con and being like, you know, we can bring our talents to you, we will bring you people will come to this, and you know, just give us a certain block of like time to do our thing each day. And that's something I haven't really thought of, but like, to me, just thinking about it on like face value right now, that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I'm not saying every single startup con needs to do that, but I think it's something that you could definitely consider, and I'm sure some actually have. I kind of wonder if that's actually ever been the case.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would especially be good for like what we're saying, like if you have cons within a few weeks of each other, it's just like, why not work together to merge them into one big thing? You know what I mean? Do you need to have two in that close of proximity? I mean,
do you even need two in the same area, period?
Exactly.
Or three in this case of Ohio?
Oh, it doesn't help that everyone's seems to be trying to schedule for summer. Because, like, that's kind of like, you're just packing everything into one part of the year. And I understand why people want to do the summer thing. It's like, the weather's nice. People are more likely to take some time off. And, you know, people with kids are going to be able to, the kids are not going to be in school right then. They're going to be able to take time and go to a convention for a weekend. But at the same time, it's like, what is it? This is kind of weird, but, you know, the game industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, they have several conventions throughout the year, but they're mostly spaced out. You're like, E3 is like late May, early June. You got PAX in like late August, early September, but you also, and then you got, but you know, they're spaced out so that, you know, they're not like all jammed into 1 month, so you're freaking out and overwhelmed. And plus, they're all, like I said earlier, they're all in very different locations. Like PAX Prime, that's in Seattle. You got PAX East in Boston. You got E3 in LA, and you got the Tokyo Game Show in Tokyo, and all that, and Gamescom in Europe. It's, you know, they're all spaced out. They give you everyone a chance to take a breather between each con and then go to the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
On top of, and to add on to the show staff thing, you remember they're, you know, actually, you know, working on the show, and not only this show but other shows in many cases. They can't. If we start going crazy with the conventions, they're simply just not going to be able to have time, because it's like, look, we got to actually work on the show at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We have lives too.
But yeah, we have personal lives. We want, you know, we don't want to be constantly doing this 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, a good point to bring up. It's like, you're going to burn out the show staff too. It's like not just the cons and the fans that might get burned out, but you're going to burn out people actually connected to the show, to where they're not going to want to associate with it at that point, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. But do you guys think there's now, granted, at this point I've been to 2 cons. Nemesis has been to one con, Art's been to no con, so like we're not going to have much of a varied selection here. But do you guys think there's any cons out there who are actually doing something that's fresh that like makes it, let's say that like all these cons started shutting down or should shut down or whatever because maybe they're too similar? Is there any con out there that you guys think is like doing something that makes it stand out, that has like a certain flavor to it, that's like, okay, it's not just the usual, hey, come to this con, we've got these X amount of people from the show, and we've got X amount of people from the fandom who are big or something, or supposedly, and that's that, that's literally it. Do you guys think there's any con out there that kind of has its own kind of distinct flavor that makes it more interesting?
I don't know, because
That's a good
what's
question.
going to interest different people is it's going to be different. Some people are at the conventions for the show staff, other people are there for the fan content, and other people just want to meet other members of the fandom. And like I don't know if anyone really has anything special. The only thing I can think of is like you said like Candlelight Gardens had a bunch of non-pony stuff at their convention.
Mm-hmm.
Everfree, they had, not only did they have the voice actors and whatnot at the show staff and the big fan things there, they also had a few smaller things. They had stuff like, hey, we're gonna have this little session where you can learn how to draw a pony if you're they had a fanfic contest, and then later on they had they judged them, and then because you had 40 minutes to write a fanfic, go. Stuff like that. And I think they had a prompt, okay, here's what you got to write about.
TrotCon did that.
Yes, just little things, just interactive things. So you're not, it's not everything is just you sit there and listen to people on a panel, and then at the end, if you're lucky, you get to ask them questions. Some of it is like interactive, like, hey, try to hone your writing skills, try to make yourself a better artist.
Which is something that like I think some cons don't even do, though. That's what's unfortunate.
Right.
Some con you mentioned your con, like I know TrotCon also had a lot of panels like that had a lot of stuff to do. Like there was a lot of programming in most of it, because TrotCon didn't have anybody from the show staff, so they didn't have to worry about that. So there was a lot of programming that was just like really cool stuff like that. Like, let's talk about how to write a good fanfic. On the other side, let's talk about how to write a troll fic. And you had that.
Oh God.
Which was really wonderful. And things like, your usual musician panels, usual writing panels. Things like, let's do live readings of things, except it's not like, Tara Strong doing it. It's this this amateur voice actor who wants to make it big one day, and is going to do his Bill Cosby impression for you, stuff like that. Like, that's a lot of fun, and I love cons that do that. And I think cons like that will continue to stick around. That cons that like show up maybe for the first time and like have that sort of like plan, whereas if you have other cons that are just like, we're just gonna do the usual show stuff. We'll throw up the big music writer or whatever people, and that's like it. And then we'll obviously have our artist alley, and that's it. It's like, I mean, that's interesting, but like,
But that's uneventful. It's just like, I don't want to say boring because boring sounds rude, but it's just like
it's not, and especially because it's not boring. It's just something that I can find in another con.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, so it's like, that's what I love about like some of these smaller cons sometimes, or the cons that like have a lot of programming, like Everfree or TrotCon, that like, you can show up and you can be like, what am I going to do today? And you look at me, you're just like, I have so much stuff to do. Oh my God. And then you to the point where you can't even pick. And that's what I think is really great. And that's like the kind of cons I think will continue to thrive. And I hope that these new cons that are starting up, and any cons that do end up starting up after this, bear that in mind. Say, okay, we need more than just voice actor panel, writing, X panel with like this certain demographic of people. Let's have a how to write a good fanfic panel, or furries versus bronies,
No,
Are we really that different type of thing? You know, just for instance.
Yeah, definitely.
one last thing, I wish Candlelight Gardens had the Fighting is Magic tournament. I wish was at Everfree. If more, if they can get more, because we got a lot of game stuff going on in this fandom. If you can get a lot of the game stuff like if playable there, that would be awesome. But that's also, of course, you can't really demand that these developers actually have a playable version of their game at the convention, but you can at least try.
We should have a pony game con where it's just pony games and there's just big tournaments all weekend.
That would be kind of fun.
I'm just kidding. I mean that'd be cool. It wouldn't really be necessarily viable.
Though.
It might be. Think about it.
But yeah, so that was. I mean, unless anyone else has anything to add, I think that was a really, really solid discussion.
Yeah, I don't have anything else really to say. I mean, I just want to reiterate that I like that this fandom has gotten so big that we have all these conventions, that there is definitely a good variety, that if, pretty much no matter where you are, at least in the United States, you can be like, you can probably find a con that's at least within driving distance. And I think that's really cool. I just worry, especially when there's too many cons in a certain area, that, maybe there are too many. Although, again, you kind of think about BronyCon kind of being the mecca at this point. People are going to keep flocking into that. Again, I just kind of worry about some of these smaller cons, these startup cons. And I worry about people possibly thinking of, or feeling like they have to choose. Because I don't want that to be the case. I don't want that to be the case for startup cons and cons that have been around for a year or whatever alike. I don't want people to have to choose. I would rather people just be able to go to everything. But if there's too many cons, it's going to get to a point where people have to choose. And that sucks. But
yeah, definitely.
It seems like that might end up, that's going to end up, it's already been a thing even this year. And there wasn't even that many cons this year, or at least big cons. But people still had to kind of choose, say for instance, between Candlelight Gardens and TrotCon, because they're both, or even Midwestria, because Midwestria happened just a couple weeks before Candlelight Gardens, and those are both in the Midwest area. So I just kind of worry about that even amplifying that, some of the issues with burnout, or people not being able to decide where to go because they only have so much money that happened this year. I worry that may happen even more next year, and maybe even beyond that. And I don't want that to be the case. I think people should just bear in mind, if you want to start a con, just make sure you do your research and make sure you realize or figure out, are there any cons around me that would even make more sense just to go there? And if not, are you just doing this con just to run because you just want to run something? Or are you doing this con because you really want to actually do a service to the community? I think it's something people also have to remember too. I don't want people to be doing cons just because they want to run something. And unfortunately, that is a thing that is prevalent in the community. And I won't name names there because there's plenty, and I'm not gonna just call people out. But that is definitely a thing where people just decide to start something because they being in charge, and
they like jockeying for position.
Of course. And I just hope that people bear that in mind and just think, do I really need to exist? It's kind of like the same thing of when I was in college and in the journalism school, and we had all these publications popping up all the time, these new student run things. And the thing that I always tried to tell younger, underclassmen, if they were saying, I want to start something, the thing I always said was okay, make sure I think we had a 5-point run through, whatever. And one of the main things was, make sure you have a reason to exist. And if you have a reason to exist, awesome. But be wary of that. Make sure you do. Make sure there is a reason for your con to exist. And if it does, then all the power to you. I think some of these startup cons, the Nashville Con, Vegas cons, I think those are great. I think those will be fun. Just singling out two there once again.
Nice. Yeah, no, that was, I think, a lot of good points about that were raised from everybody. I mean, you in particular, I can tell you're very passionate about the subject of cons and getting everything organized. It was really just like listening to your viewpoint was actually really awesome and intriguing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are good at speech.
I don't know. I do what I can.
So yeah, moving right along, this is the point where we're going to pop on into fan content. That's right. Maybe some of you listeners out there are going to get to hear your stuff talked about on our awesome podcast. So without further ado, we're going to start with the fanfic of the week. We're going to toss it over to Nemesis. What do you got for us this week, buddy?
Well, I have yet another Twilight Sparkle fiction, which is, completely unsurprising coming from me. But it's called Twilight Sparkle, History's Greatest Monster, and it's by Potato Joe.
I like that.
You know it's going to be good because his name has potato in it.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. We're already sold on this.
But anyway, so it's basically Twilight Sparkle wakes up and finds out for some reason she's in Camelot, not in Ponyville, and as time goes on, and then Fluttershy attacks her. This isn't right. And then she finds out that she basically at some point took over the world and she is an evil tyrant. In this, and it's just kind of it's kind of comedic story. It's alternate universe, of course, because basically she comes to this decision: either she conquered the world in her sleep, she is in a different world, or she is suffering the effects from bad food. And the only reason she actually decided she didn't conquer the world in her sleep because she saw something outside that would have taken way too long to build in one night. That's the only reason she came to the conclusion that was not the right. But, so it comes to stuff. So it's got very kind of silly dialogue. We kind of cut back and forth between the two dimensions. And it's not finished yet, again. And I hope he's talking about having about 10 or 11 chapters, and right now it's only got 3, so hopefully this will pan out and be great. But it also kind of touches on a few things, like at one point she discovers that this evil Twilight is also horribly racist. And also one thing she kind of gets hung up on is the fact that this evil Twilight writes in books. Instead of just reading them, she writes notes in the margins and stuff. How dare she?
I know.
So now another part of the problem is she also realizes as time is going on that there's this passive magic at work, and what's going on is it's slowly turning her mindset into this evil Twilight's mindset, which is worrying her because she doesn't want to become evil.
Oh no.
But it also kind of checks in on the other universe where they have evil Twilight captured because they realize something was very wrong with her.
And does that universe start turning her mindset into the good Twilight?
I think that's implied, but it hasn't really gone too far into that yet.
I see. Oh, so this is a story in progress then. It's not.
That's why I said it's unfinished.
Oh.
That generally implies that it's
implications there, Art. Learn to hear them.
I have learned.
This story is really funny so far. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I must confess I haven't started reading it yet, but your plot synopsis has me actually intrigued because I do like. I just find like swap stories pretty cool, especially when they involve alternate universes. Like one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek is when Kirk, Spock, and Dr. McCoy get sent over into an alternate universe where they're all evil. So
you mean Mirror Mirror?
Yes.
Even I know that. I don't watch Trek that often.
I haven't watched like the original series in a while, but I did. At least I remember the episode.
Are you guys talking about watching Shrek?
No.
What's the Star Shrek?
Oh God, and it is not Drek.
Not at all.
Oh man, but yeah, no, that's. I mean, I'll definitely get to checking that out when I get some free time. It sounds pretty cool.
Absolutely, very enjoyable so far. Bravo, writer, who I can't remember the name of.
Potato Joe.
Potato Joe. Honestly, how can I forget that name? I don't know.
Well, you just did.
I know, that's what I'm saying. How could I?
Ah, man.
Because Potato Joe is wonderful.
Shameful display.
Also, the bad pun about Fluttershy being no pony to truffle with.
Yes.
I just I couldn't deal for a little bit. I honestly, I could not deal with that. Because I enjoy me a good pun.
Oh boy. So do I,
That
actually.
was good.
In other words, things
What?
that Art does not say.
You're not the real Art.
Oh man. You know, I actually haven't made a pun yet this episode. That's pretty crazy.
I know. Well.
Or a Homestuck reference. Oh wait.
Oh, I've just looked, and according to a blog post, he said he's going to have an update this weekend for this story. So
Check it out.
Yeah, people, give it a look. Sounds like a really interesting story. And speaking of really interesting things to check out, we're going to move on to our music segment. Unfortunately, since Funky's not here, we would usually have the artist of the week, but as we said, he's off taking care of some things, so...
Taking care of business.
That's right. So, in lieu of his absence, we will move on to the music segment. And Four String, you picked, what was it, 3 songs for this week, I believe.
4 songs.
Four songs.
Learn to
4
count,
songs.
scrub.
4 songs, 4 string. I don't know. Anyway, I do have 4 songs this week. It's gonna be fun to listen to all of them because it was a pretty good week. And also keep in mind that since it is Halloween week, a lot of these songs, a lot isn't like half of them, have kind of a Halloween theme to them, so it's very, very interesting. The first one is one of those Halloween songs. It's called Searching for a Friend. It's by Radiark. Very, very creepy Halloween song. It kind of reminds me of a variant of Nightmare Night in a way. There's a lot of progressions in this song that remind me of the melody of that So Hallowed tune that we heard at the beginning of this podcast. Only it's mainly on piano. And I should know also that piano work in this song is really, really interesting, and I very much enjoyed it. And the song itself, it isn't that creepy per se, but it's definitely fitting on Halloween. And in case you like instrumentals, well, because I have instrumentals almost like every week, this is yet another instrumental.
I like instrumentals.
Yeah, I know you do. And this is yet another one of those instrumentals. So if you're into that, well, check out Searching for a Friend by Radiark. Especially if you need a good song to listen to around the holiday or Halloween season, not really holiday season. Halloween season.
Halloween's a holiday to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to say holiday season, but then I was like, but...
That implies Christmas.
Then people will think Christmas, and I can't wait for the Christmas music to pop up for this podcast.
I mean, Hearthwarming Eve, right?
I mean, yeah, but we'll get some fan stuff here soon, is what I mean.
Right.
So I'm excited for that. But yes, again, Searching for a Friend by Radiark is the first song this week. The second song is entitled Ghostly Won't Giggle Back. It's by Shinzum, and it's keeping with the Halloween theme that the first song has set, although this is going to be the last Halloween song of the week. Kind of reminds me, and I think this is mainly because of the title card on the video, but it's kind of like a Ghostbusters type thing. It's not Ghostbusters in the sense of like it sounds like the Ghostbusters theme or something like that. It just kind of has that feel to it. It's very interesting, and it obviously samples the Giggle at the Ghosty tune that Pinky sings in the first episode, and Shinzum actually calls it Pinky Step. So, and I don't know if that's probably been used before within the fandom somewhere. This is the first time I remember seeing it. That was really interesting to me. But lots of wubs in this song for your wubtastic fantasies, if you're into that. And I think the creepy piano that kind of hints in the background every once in a while kind of caps it off. Very, very, very good Halloween themed tune that y'all should check out if you're into some songs that are not really scary or even supposed to be kind of creepy or, kind of make you feel a little, what's the word? Just like a little frightened, for lack of a better term. It's not one of those songs, but it definitely does have a kind of spooky theme to it. And very cool song. Definitely check it out. And I don't usually do too many songs that have a lot of wubs in it, so enjoy that while you still can, I guess. That's not to say that I have anything against the wubs. I just haven't heard a lot of songs I'm really hugely into, but this definitely changed it this week. And song number 3 this week is called Power Slipping. It's by Zako featuring Haymaker, and if I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. Zako, I mean not Haymaker. I'm pretty Hawmaker. I don't know. Anyway, and it's Haymaker on the vocals for this tune.
Even in play, it's war that you made, and your penance is discord. Color fades away. You know you lost the game, and the winner is discord.
I have to say this, my favorite part of the song is definitely the vocals. It's more of a rock vocal, but it's definitely interesting because the tune itself is more, I don't want to call it electronic, but it's kind of a fusion. It's got electronic, it's got some rock elements as well, but it's probably, if you had to pick one, it's probably a little more electronic.
Well, you know what I thought
But-
listening to it was I got a Linkin
Oh, yeah?
Park vibe, like a very strong.
Oh my
Linkin
God,
Park.
that's so interesting. I thought that too. I thought I was crazy, but maybe I'm still crazy, but at least we can be crazy together, because I definitely did think that.
Yeah, no, I was like,
to an
wow,
extent.
this is like the song Linkin Park never wrote.
Yeah, at least the newer Linkin Park. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But again, definitely has the guitars, and apparently it's about Discord. And so if you're into Discord songs, cool, good for you. You should check this out. It's not explicitly about it, but it definitely does mention or reference Discord a lot at the very end of the song, especially by name a couple times. So again, that's Power Slipping. I may have said Power Stripping at the very beginning. Did I? I forget.
I don't think so.
If I said Power Stripping at the beginning, I apologize. For some reason, I've got it in my head right now. I said Power Stripping, but it's Power Slipping. Zako featuring Haymaker. Definitely check it out. It's more of a rock tune for this week, a little more so than the other songs that we feature this week. Song number 4 is probably my favorite of the entire week. It's called Portal to Equestria Bonus Stage, and it's by Theracles. This song is the song that I wish Funky was in here this week, and I wish he could have heard, because I feel like, he would have just been all over this. It definitely has a video game feel to it, and which is just excellent. The horns in the song are very powerful and just altogether just wonderful. I really enjoy what it brings to the tune. And but beneath it's kind of more of a heavy rock tune, but it has those horns again that kind of propel the song along and make it not too heavy. Because, again, it's got that horn, so it kind of keeps it a little bit kind of light. It's not super pony in the sense of, like, you could have thrown this song anywhere and, like, put any sort of, like, fandom in front of it, and everyone would have been fine with it. So it's not really super pony, but it's really the fact that it's just so catchy, as well as, I think, different from a lot of stuff we usually hear in this fandom, that definitely makes up for it. And, yeah, so I love this song very much. not only does it have a video game feel to it, it's the kind of song I feel like I could definitely hear in a video game. It doesn't just have the feel. I think it's that authentic that I could like think of, playing whatever game I'm playing and like this being playing in the background. It would definitely pump me up. And I could also definitely see myself listening to it outside of the game too, which I will do because it's a fun song. So those are the 4 songs I have this week for music fan content. And there's plenty more out there if you want to. I think I mentioned this last week, but if I didn't, Equestria Daily has started posting plenty more music to its website lately. So all 4 of these songs were posted on the website at some point this past week. And if you want to check out the scores of other tunes, you should check them out. And maybe you'll find something else up there that I didn't pick that maybe you'll enjoy. I know, for instance, Acoustic Brony Amanda Pony came out with a new song this week about Halloween that I didn't choose for this podcast, but I know a lot of people have enjoyed, just for instance. So,
Nice.
Yes, Mr. Art Fan, that's all I've got.
Well, I like what you've got, sir. That was pretty good tunes you dropped on us.
Thank you.
I have to say, I do like the final song a lot, but my inner cynic just kept saying, oh, this is just a song that someone made and then attached Pony to it so more people would listen to it. But
Yeah.
No.
Well, Theracles has done a lot of Pony stuff before.
I know that, but it's just like, just inner cynic was just like that.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's what I was saying about how like it's not very Pony centric. Like
fact-
you could put this anywhere, but
I've
Yeah,
been seeing a lot of cynicism lately about Pony music, or Brony music, they call it, because like, oh, they just take something from the show and add a whole bunch of dubstep to it and call it a Pony song, and it's like, oh, I don't know.
oh, I've been seeing that a lot lately, and I think maybe that's something we could talk about on the show one day. I'm sure
One
we
day.
yeah, man.
I'm sure we.
Actually, I do want to make one quick, really obscure reference, real quick, regarding one of the songs. "Searching for a Friend," the piano tune. I'm fairly certain there's going to be nobody else out there that's going to get this but me. But a lot of those piano bits reminded me of the soundtrack to this game I used to play a lot when I was a kid called Titanic Adventure Out of Time. Because that game, no, seriously, that game had a lot of like really heavy, like ominous or like sad piano themes in it. And this was, when I listened to it, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm playing that game again, even though it's like totally unrelated to that. I was like,
Yeah.
it gave me that type of feeling. So I just wanted to put that out there, I guess. If there's anyone out there that remembers that game, please leave a comment so I don't feel so lonely.
And so you and Art Fan can hook up and talk about it and stuff.
Yes. Tell me how long it took you to get the book and the diamond and all that.
Yeah, but tread lightly, because if you start talking about Titanic to Art, you may never come out of the conversation alive.
Oh no, you guys fared pretty well.
I mean, I still have nightmares, man. I still have nightmares. It's like the Titanic sinking, which I know is crazy, but the boat is sinking even though it's unsinkable.
Wait till they build the replica. We'll all go on a cruise.
Oh God, Pony 411 Cruise 2013. We're all invited. You're all invited. Not, of course we are invited. So are you, dear listeners.
It's so good we're going to invite ourselves.
The hosts of the podcast are invited to the podcast cruise. That's good. We'll also have Yeti there because Yeti likes.
And then
cruises.
Fusion will be like, "Well, I didn't get an invitation."
It's because you don't exist. Remember? Oh, that's right. How could I forget?
He'll be the water boy.
That's right. Wait, on a cruise?
What? Cabana boy, is that better?
That's just some water from over the ship.
He lowers a bucket over the side. It's all salt water.
I would hope he just jumped over and then jumped back on like a shark.
Wrestles a shark to death with his bare hands for dinner.
Oh God, be wonderful.
Oh jeez. But anyway, enough of talking about people that don't exist. I think it's time we headed out for the night.
Yes, we should. We should leave.
And
We should get out of here, man.
and we're gonna
Forever.
leave you on some more of that awesome Nightmare Night music.
But again, you should mention all the places that people can find us, and like Twitter and
Yes, I
iTunes,
was
stuff
working
like
my
that.
way up to that.
I was.
I was indeed.
I bet.
Okay.
So you could find all of us on Twitter. Yes, you could find me on Twitter at Artfan88. How does Twitter do its URLs?
It's at. Just say it's at.
Okay.
Just say at.
Yeah.
Yeah, works.
You could find me at Artfan88 at Twitter. FusionFox is found at FusionFox at Twitter. So you could find Four String at FourStringMLP at Twitter. And you could find Nemesis at NemesisPrime1 at Twitter. And Funky can be found at LordFunkyFist at Twitter.
I love how you said at Twitter at the end.
At
of
Twitter.
it.
At Twitter. At Twitter.
At twitter.com. It's a website. You should check it out.
I'm just doing what you told me.
No. When we said at, we meant like at LordFunkyFist, at Art.
Yeah.
Like that.
Damn it, now I'm going to have to do this whole thing over again.
No, you're fine.
No, you're good. We're leaving this in.
The hell we are.
No, we are.
Not if I do the editing. Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
Honestly, what are the chances of that anymore?
That's a
It's
good
not my
point.
fault Apple makes me work 9 hours on Friday.
What did you get for getting in bed with the devil?
Hey, man. Steve Cook.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Wow, I just said Steve Cook. Steve Jobs.
Steve Cook. Steve Cook. You know that guy.
Oh, the best and worst of Apple combined into one. Anyway, so yes, that is where you could find all of us, your hosts, and we will leave you guys once again on more of that lovely Nightmare Night music.
We're also at Pony411.
Yeah, we have our own, very own big boy Twitter page. We also have a Libsyn page, pony401.libsyn.com.
I'm just gonna let these guys do this.
We're on iTunes.
Play us off,
Search
keep
Pony 411.
You can find us there. Just search Pony401. And also, pony411podcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, cause for discussion, you can either email us there, or you can just, throw quotes throw things at us on at Twitter, and we'll be happy to say hi and respond to things, unless if you're just being, mean and saying bad things.
And please send
My
any
soul
hate
fire.
mail to FusionFox at Twitter.
That's right. And thank you, as always, for your support. We couldn't do it without you, especially those of you who comment on like every single YouTube page, and which is just like one of you. But thank you, Spino, I think is who it is.
We love
Thank you
you.
for all that you do. And but thanks to everybody also who listen, and keep listening and tell your friends, and maybe one day you'll see us at a convention, because there's plenty out there. So who knows? Maybe we'll show up at one, and you can meet us and you can say hi, and we'll say hi back, and it'll be fun.
We will. I mean, yes, we will. We will say hi to you and your friends, because we rock.
No, only to you, not your friends.
Oh, yeah, well,
We don't care about your friends unless they
friends
Unless
cost
they pay.
extra.
friends let friends listen to Pony 411.
Yes, they do.
Friends make sure friends pony responsibly.
Yes, they do. And of course, we will leave you tonight by reminding you to always pony responsibly.